Homelessness. In Winnipeg's inner city, it is a perilous struggle for anyone to endure. But for the Indigenous woman, it comes with its own troubles. Here at the Thunderbird House, two women met with me to share their experiences in working with the homeless.
My name's Althea Gabosh. I'm from Duck Bay. I'm the Bannock Lady of Winnipeg. I'm the Housing Supports Manager of End Homelessness Winnipeg, and I sit on the National Steering Committee of the Canadian Indigenous Homelessness definition.
My name is Vanessa Gamblin. I'm originally from Cross Lake, Manitoba. I was born in the Paw and raised in Cranberry Portage, Manitoba.
Althea and her family have experienced homelessness firsthand.
It was the floods of 2011. It was a government-sanctioned diversion of the waters to an area that doesn't usually flood. So I was lost in the aftermath of all the organizations. Nobody helped me out of 10 agencies and organizations that I sought help from. I was homeless for 8 weeks. My children, I had 5 children, 3 of which were under the age of 3.
Vanessa manages a drop-in at Silo Mission and works closely with people in need.
Through my experience, people coming homeless, any reasons have been shared would be from hearing that there's been family breakdown is a big one, especially kids exiting out of child welfare system, or else women that were a part of child welfare system, their kids have been apprehended, also their partners, if it's the male, their children be apprehended, etc. That's a big one we notice. Another one would be the structural systems around, so like EI systems breaking down, the health system breaking down, so that just generates more issues on top, such as mental health, etc.
Althea and her children were fortunate enough to find refuge with family living in the city, which came with its own unique struggles.
I came to Winnipeg and I stayed with my sister for about 4 weeks. We basically were holed up in one bedroom with 5 children. It was quite, well, you're invading other people's privacy, you're interrupting their routine of their daily life. It's not comfortable and it gets quite awkward near the end. After 4 weeks, I went to stay with a friend, and basically the same situation. It was very hard on both sides and very stressing.
Part of Althea's struggle was interacting with shelters and government offices in the city.
I met with a lot of racism and was turned away because of that. It was hard to place me under which jurisdiction, I guess, so to speak, I fell under, such as CFS. They didn't help me. The women's shelter, crisis shelter, turned me away because it was homelessness and not domestic abuse. So I told them that they needed to be more specific with the wording, because homelessness is a crisis and somebody should have helped me along the way. So
you continually will hear comments such as, why don't they just get over that? That's old, that's whatever. But the racism that's there is attached also to the systems, and the systems are not generating enough information out for a lot of individuals to understand all that, of the systematic barriers that have been imposed.
Along with systematic racism, Indigenous women encounter other barriers when facing homelessness.
My experience of working with Indigenous women, they have different types of barriers in homelessness, absolutely. I see that already, we already know that our Indigenous women are more risk already of harm, of danger, anything you could say, just alone by being Indigenous, opposed to the next individual who may be of Caucasian descent, let's say, because of systematic barriers, relationship barriers, etc.
So right now there are no homeless shelters specifically for women. There's no safe spaces. A woman could come here to one of these shelters, but many have said they're not safe. They're very vulnerable to all kinds of attacks, violence, rape, whatnot. And so they basically stay away and try to live with friends or family and couch surf. I've seen lots of women rough sleeping in parks. We just need more resources. We need more awareness outreach for people so that they know where to go when homelessness hits.
And one of the things is we're hearing is about the missing and murdered women, right? So our Indigenous women, which is high, is that as soon as they even leave the drop-in, they leave the shelter. I'm like highly concerned even more, no different than anybody else, but they're at higher risks of then being taken from somebody else as soon as we go out. My staff in the drop-in are watching at the doors. If you see cars pull up and we see Indigenous women jump in, we're so worried. Like, we look at license plates, we're taking all that stuff, so they're more susceptible to that. And also we find too that they, with the lack of the knowledge or the lack of places that just open up to our Indigenous women who are homeless, for the medicines and for the teachings, it's not, I don't see it readily available. We say it is, it's not there, I don't see it.
The lack of resources available was a hindrance to Althea recovering from homelessness.
And afterwards, I was very devastated mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I became suicidal. I drank a lot. I coped as best as I could. When I got to the city, I tried to access resources, counseling. I couldn't. I didn't know how to get referred into that. So I did eventually go to a healing retreat, and they took me out to Bannock Point, and I was able to offer tobacco and ask the ancestors to help me find my purpose and give me some guidance and clarity. So
through Indigenous spirituality, Althea has overcome many of her personal battles.
So to me, just doing that was connecting me to the ancestors, connecting my dreams and wishes and my suffering and everything that I went through, connected that back to the land. And that's where the disconnect is we're not connected to the land, we're not connected to each other. Colonization has broken our family circles, and somehow we need to bring those circles back. And that's the key, is we can heal ourselves, we just need to remember who we are.
If we get the opportunity, and we are, and I believe we're at this stage, that we get to teach our daughters and our children and our sisters around us that we are sisters, and speak about the truths, and also just listen, use the beauty of what you've been given, I believe that's healing in itself. Allow our youth to speak, to generate the ideas. Allow our elders to speak so we learn from what had not worked in the past.
After her struggle with homelessness, Althea sought out to help others through her charity organization.
And so to me, that was my way of counteracting that isolation or that disconnect from society, was to start feeding people that were in that same predicament that I found myself in. And it did help, and it's helped a lot of other people as well. So in today's society, it seems like we're all in a little bubble, we're struggling, we're just barely surviving, and we can only have enough energy to care for ourselves. And that's not the ancestral way of my people. We were always there. We had huge circles helping us, huge in-place networks. So that's what I try to do, is remind people of the powerful village that we were before colonization, and that we are still those same people, and we are not these detrimental names and stereotypes and stigmas that they place on us.